as Trump vows to squeeze Iran with a naval blockade, is quietly letting the seized MV Tuska's crew go home, the first sign Washington is getting scared of how far the standoff can really go. With Iranian sailors now walking free via Pakistan, did the US just blink in the MV Tuska showdown it once hailed as proof that no Iranian ship could slip past its blockade? After a dramatic US seizure in the Gulf of Oman, how did we get to the point where 15 Iranian sailors are landing back in Iran, while Washington tries to spin this as calm diplomacy? If 22 crew were flown out, but Iranian outlets talk about 15 landing and 6 earlier freed, what exactly happened to the rest? And how clean is this so-called confidence-building gesture really? Tehran brands the seizure armed piracy, so as crews go home and the ship prepares to sail back, is Trump's big Gulf gambit starting to look less like pressure and more like a propaganda own goal? Iranian media say crew members from the seized container ship MV Tuska have finally stepped back onto home soil, framing their return as proof that US pressure is already starting to crack. Iran's Fars News reported that 15 mariners from MV Tuska have now arrived in Iran, part of a staggered repatriation that began with 6 sailors freed earlier. Their return marks the latest step in a cautious de-escalation at sea after weeks of US-Iran maritime tensions around the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman. The sailors have been stuck aboard or in custody since April 19, when US forces intercepted and seized the Iranian-flagged Tuska as it tried to move through the blockade zone. Pakistan's foreign ministry had earlier announced that all 22 remaining crew members had been flown into Pakistan as a prelude to handing them over to Iranian authorities. Islamabad pointedly described the airlift as a confidence-building measure by the United States, casting Washington's decision as a diplomatic concession under regional mediation. Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan Ishaq Dar said, and I quote, "Pleased to announce that 22 crew members from the seized Iranian container vessel, MV Tuska, have been safely evacuated to Pakistan. The individuals were safely flown in Pakistan last night and will be transferred to Iran today. The Iranian ship is also being backloaded to Pakistani territorial waters for its return to its original owners after necessary repairs. These actions are being coordinated with the support of both the Iranian and the US authorities and surely constitute an important confidence-building measure. Pakistan expresses its appreciation to the United States and Iran, and remains committed to facilitating dialogue, diplomacy, and mediation for the regional peace and security." Unquote. Pakistani officials say the crew arrived overnight on special flights, were processed on arrival, and are being prepared for transfer across the border into Iran. They stress that the handover is being coordinated with both US and Iranian authorities, underlining Islamabad's role as a go-between in the wider Hormuz crisis. Back on April 20th, Trump announced that US forces had taken control of an Iranian cargo ship in the Gulf of Oman, hailing the seizure as the first big test of his new blockade. He claimed the MV Tuska was intercepted because it tried to evade a US-led naval blockade, with a destroyer firing on its engine room before Marines rappelled aboard and forced the vessel to stop. The crew of the Tuska had reportedly ignored 6 hours' worth of repeated warnings issued by US ships on April 19th, even as the situation at sea continued to escalate. A destroyer then fired several rounds at the container ship's engine room, intensifying the confrontation and leaving the vessel unable to continue normally. According to General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the ship was later boarded by US Marines after the earlier warnings and firing incident. Notably, an aide to Iran's supreme leader later called America a pirate, sharply escalating the political rhetoric surrounding the episode. A senior advisor to Mojtaba Khamenei, Mohsen Rezaei, lashed out at America in sharply worded remarks that added to the ongoing exchange of accusations. Mohsen Rezaei said the US is the only pirate in the world that possesses aircraft carriers, using the comment to frame his criticism of American military power. Their advisor to Mojtaba Khamenei said, quote, "The US is the only pirate in the world that possesses aircraft carriers. Our ability to confront pirates is no less than our ability to sink warships. Prepare to face a graveyard of your carriers and forces, just as the wreckage of your aircraft was left behind in Isfahan." Unquote. Iran's jibe came after Trump admitted that the US Navy was acting like pirates, a remark that quickly drew attention and intensified the political exchange.
And you saw the other day where a massive tanker. This was bigger than 2 million barrels. A massive tanker was trying to run it, and the young captain of the ship from Annapolis, these guys are like central casting. You could put him in. I'd say something about Tom Cruise. I was going to say better looking than Tom Cruise and taller, but I'm not going to do that because he's a friend of mine. I can't do that. But they're like central cast. You could move them to Hollywood right now. They'd be movie stars. But you saw him saying, "We have guns trained on your ship. Turn your ship around. Turn." And this is loudspeakers that go over the ocean, and they hear them from 2 miles away. Turn your ship around. Turn your ship around. And all of a sudden, yes, we are going back to Iran. We are going back. They turned it around. It takes 10 miles to turn the sucker. You know, it's not like turning around a bicycle. It's big stuff. And then we had the other one you saw from 4 days ago where they were going to ram we call it an iron wall. It's essentially an iron wall. We have such great military and great Navy. And they were going straight through. And they said, turn your ship around. And there was no response. Turn your ship around. Evacuate your engine room immediately. And you see all these guys running out of there. Now, they're 5 miles away, and one shot into the engine room, blew up the engine room. The ship stopped. They used tugboats, and then we landed on top of it. On top of everything else, we then land on top of it, and we took over the ship. We took over the cargo, took over the oil. It's a very profitable business. Who would have thought we were doing that? We're like pirates. We're sort of like pirates. But we're not playing games because, you know, for 47 years, Iran has been pushing everybody around. They're the bully of the Middle East.
Iran's foreign ministry had claimed that Trump's boast was no verbal slip, arguing that the statement reflected something much more deliberate and revealing. Spokesman Esmail Bagai called it a direct and damning admission of America's criminal nature, sharply escalating Tehran's criticism of Washington.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.